Guyana Babu, oh Guyana Babu, I am the very best damn Ghanese Babu. In a Judicial, me this time come. Touched on my nice place on me here. I'll gain a thing you'll find here and there. Guyana Babu. One day me come a Josh down and me see one tongue gal walk around. So me ask the tongue gal what she name. The tongue gal suck up she eat and start to climb up she feet. Tongue gal me like you, tongue gal I love you. Tongue gal me like you, tongue gal I love you. Tongue gala, what me go do with you? Oh, tongue gala, you sweet like a callaloo. Guyana Babu, oh Guyana Babu, I am the very best them Ghanese Babu. In the Judicial, me this time I come. Touched on a nice place on me here. I'll find nothing you'll find here and there. Need them Guyana Babu. You come we do the rumba. You come we do the zumba. Rock and roll and nagara. And the way you is a wakana. Hey man, you mouth full of good girl and you live like a rose. Oh, I love you, don't girl, only God in heaven knows. Me go give you moon, yeah, and me go give you star. Me go buy your house and a land with big motor car. And you pack up your grip and there we go. Me got to come back at Josh Thompson. Guyana Babu, oh Guyana Babu, I am the very best them Ghanese Babu. In the Judicial, me this time will come. Touched on a nice place on me here. I'll find nothing you'll find here and there. I'll find nothing you'll find here and there. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Scott stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
What is your take on interference, direct interference of a sovereign nation, as we have been seeing with the situation there in Guyana, outside interferences, threats of sanctions, and even threatening that they are not going to respect the decision of a court. We have heard Undersecretary of the U.S. State Department saying just that in a tweet. What is your take on those sort of issues?
Well, I think that, we have to respect the sovereignty of the nations, of every nation in the world. And unfortunately, the U.S. Under the Trump administration has been corrupt on many levels. And so it's truly a travesty that those principles that we have historically adhered to as a nation are being diminished under this current administration. And, like I said, because of the way the U.S. government is structured, you have your executive branch and you have your legislative branch, and we are all equal in terms of governance. We are monitoring from the congressional side all of the various players that are either interfering or trying to put their thumbs on the scale of the elections in Guyana. And we are maintaining our position that GECOM must be free to do its job without the interference of any group, so that we can, from this, get a free and fair election.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam.
All right, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke there, New York Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Good evening to all of you. My name is Mark Benshaw. And on the other side, in the other studio, we have, what's your name again, sir?
Yes, good evening, Mark. Good evening, everyone. And of course, Mark, my name is Wayne Caesar.
Yep, we have Wayne Caesar. Thank you, guys. As you know, I'm getting up there in age. I almost forget him. But Wayne Caesar, good to see you. It's Wednesday, the 30th of August. Wayne and I will be, I already see people yelling and hollering amen and all these sort of things. We have a member of the Straight Up family who has lost a loved one. And John, our condolences to you and your entire family. And to all of you who have lost your loved ones out there, or those are condolences, and those who celebrating their birth anniversary, wedding anniversary, or whatever other anniversary you're celebrating, we want to wish you all the best. With us tonight, we have former magistrate Dawn Holder Cush. She is with us this evening. We want to rock and roll. We want to ask her some serious questions about the judicial system and so forth and so on. Miss Cush is, we are told that she is already in studio with us. And so let us focus with who our guests and who are the folks who are on tonight, and not who is not on and who is who and where is who and these things. It's a bit of a distraction, so we want to keep focus, mind you, and read between the lips. Let us keep focus. Former magistrate, I almost say introduce you as former chief magistrate, but good evening to Miss Cush. How are you doing? Are you ready for us? Good evening, ma'am.
I'm very good this evening. And how are you, Mark?
Yep, we're quite good. It's Wednesday and we love the energy. Is it your internet or is it your energy? Because we're hardly hearing you. Let's start right over again. Good evening to you, and how are you doing tonight? All right, we'll try to get, I'm not sure if the former magistrate is listening to us via her phone or she is listening to us. I'm not sure. We'll get back to you. We have to apologize for that. But Mr. Wayne Caesar, how have you been? You heard the Congresswoman Yvette Clarke talking about democracy and respecting sovereignty and so forth and so on. And GECOM should be very, very impartial, which is not what we're seeing right now. It is just not impartial. Your take, sir.
Well, Mark, we all know that GCOM is an independent organ. It should be independent, and there should be no interference by, present government or even the opposition. They should just have their people there. Yes, they would have people there at GCOM, but there should not be any direct interference, by the government. The government and the opposition both have three commissioners each there, and you have Miss Claudette Singh, who is the GCOM chairman. But that being said, there is more that is happening when you look at, the posture of the PPPC and their influence over the organ. So I feel like if that is something that really needs to be addressed, not just from a general perspective, but from a legal perspective.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Mr. Wayne sees it needs to be addressed, and Wayne has been very aggressive in that regards in terms of GCOM shaping up. Ms. Holder, Ms. Cush, Don Cush, welcome again to Straight Up. You're no stranger. Are you hearing us loud and clear, ma'am? Can you hear us, please?
Yes, I am, Mark.
Thank you so much. Seemed to be a little bit of a delay there with us here. But what is your take on GCOM not being able to even give this impression that they're impartial?
I'm
see
hearing
all
you
of the time.
I'm seeing both
Pardon
of you
me?
now, and I'm hearing you.
Yep. Thank you so much. Glad that you're seeing us. Glad that you're hearing us too. What is your take on what's going on with GCOM and the voters list?
You're not hearing me?
What is your take on what's going on with GCOM and the voters list?
The GCOM and the voters list? I am not quite sure. I don't want to say anything on that as yet. I want to see what I know by the representatives from the PNC.
But there's so much to say, 3+ years and nothing coming out from them as it regards to the voters list. It is padded, as we all know. The evidence is clear. You have a GCOM chairman that is there that is ruling every single time in favor of the PPP. People are objecting to that. People are saying there's no impartiality there at all. Isn't there anything you wish to say? Aren't there things that you're concerned about?
You're frozen?
No, I'm not frozen. It's going to be an interesting night indeed. Very interesting night.
No, I think there are objections. I think there are objections to the voters list. I don't know.
Mr. Wayne Caesar, I don't know what's happening there with the former magistrate. I don't know what's happening with the internet there too. But Mr. Caesar, there's so much that we can talk about. Irfan Ali is acting up now. He's behaving worse than a madman. All manner of things that's happening with Irfan Ali. I don't know what's happening. What is your take on what's going on with it? But before we do, Mr. Caesar, we have a surprise guest on the phone with us this evening to respond to all of the rhetoric and propaganda by Irfan Ali. We have the leader of the opposition with us, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Good evening, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. You're live on the air. How are you doing?
I am fine. I'm fine.
How is your trip so far in the U.S.? I noticed that you've had several meetings.
It has been extremely good. In fact, I saw that I'm getting under Jack Bill's skin because we were able to successfully vote the Queens and engage what he perceives to be his support. So I would say good. It was good in Maryland. Here in New Jersey, it was. Tomorrow we are in Brooklyn. And so far it has been extremely good.
All right, extremely good indeed. 18 minutes after 9 o'clock on the phone, we have the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Norton, with us. Mr. Norton, we have invited you. Wayne sees along here. We have invited you so that we can clear up this thing. Irfan Ali, over the past 48 hours, he has been talking about that you need to confess your sins to him.
Well, first of all, I'm not involved in corruption. If anybody has to confess the sins to the people of Guyana, it's Irfan Ali, Jack Dio, and the PPP. I've long said that if they put their assets against their income, they will be in deep trouble. And so they have to confess their sins. I don't know what confession of sins he's talking about, but the biggest sin committed on the people of Guyana is the waste of their money through corruption, etc.
Waste of the money through corruption. In fact, the opposition leader is correct. Those are the guys who need to confess their sins. We just have two other questions for the leader of the opposition, but Mr. Caesar, do you have a quick question for Mr. Norton, sir?
Well, Mark, I would just want to say to Mr. Norton, I would like to thank him first and foremost, for being transparent to not just the opposition, but the people of Guyana concerning his visit to the United States, because the installed president of Guyana, was not transparent when he went on that visit to China, and he did not disclose, detail of that visit, and that's quite concerning. So I just want to thank Mr. Norton, for being transparent with the people of Guyana.
Yes.
Well, I think all the Guyanese are aware, first of all, that I am out of Ghana. It is well known that I came to have some rest because I've been going for like a year straight. In the process, I've agreed to engage the party's constituency here, and I've been engaging them and meeting with them. In fact, most of what I have been doing is engaging the support base of the People's National Congress Reform, the APNU here, and the APNU here. So that's as transparent as it could be. There's nothing to hide. Everything is public. All the flyers are out, and everything every forum that I've been so far has been streamed live.
Absolutely. Mr. Norton, we want to, and I know you just have limited time with us this evening, but how do you respond to Irfan Ali again and his rhetoric, his propaganda, his silliness, as it pertains to having dialogues and engagements with him?
Irfan Ali has always been disingenuous. From day one, when I became leader of the opposition, the first attempt to dialogue, if people recall, he sent me information and I responded by saying to him, it's inadequate information to determine whether these candidates are candidates that we can support. I then went and I met him. In that meeting, I told him that. He then agreed we were going to meet at a particular day and time. Then he claimed that he had a set of activities and which he didn't plan for. When he set the date, which is a manifestation of his incompetence, and so we didn't meet. When he attempted to meet the next time, he put the meeting at a time which wasn't convenient to me. By that time, there were serious concern about what is meant by meaningful consultation. Irfan Ali seems to believe that meaningful constitution means he sent me the names of the people, I go and I agree with him and that's it. The whole concept of meaningful consultation ended up in the Constitution because before it was just consultation, and the president would meet, and it don't matter what you would have said, he moves ahead. Now we carry this matter to court, and we still hope to get some review of it, because if it is going to be meaningful, it has to be more than he send you the name of the persons and you, whether you agree or not, he just go ahead, and that is what he did. But one has to be sympathetic to Irfan Ali. I don't think he understands government. that he is a puppet president and that Jack Doe runs the country from behind, he is not up to the task. And therefore, a lot of the things that he is doing are a manifestation of his incompetence and the fact that he's a puppet. I notice he rant and rave about me not shaking his hands. I want to say to the people of Ghana, when Irfan Ali came to me to shake hands, it was at a time when he was seeking to use things like shake hands to point out that everything is hunky-dory in Guyana. Our position was clear. My position was clear. The government was discriminating against us. The government wasn't even allowing us to be on state boards. The government was talking all kind of things, but you had to recognize them before they engage you. And I thought that it would be a wrong signal to send to the people of Guyana to be shaking a man's hand who is treating your constituency, your support base, and the people of Ghana in the way he does. And his recent manhandling of a security guard is indicative of the arrogance of Irfan Ali. And one of the worst combinations you can find is arrogance and incompetence, and he epitomizes both. So I do not worry about Irfan Ali. I do not think that Irfan Ali has a vision for Ghana. I don't think he understands the vicissitudes and the nuances in politics. And since he is a puppet of Barry Jack Deo, there's no need to take him seriously. Because if tomorrow morning, while he's saying this could go on without Norton, and Barry Jack Deo says, look, we got to meet Norton, he doesn't have a choice. So engaging him really is a waste of time. And we have a history that we know. I remember clearly Robert Corbyn wanting to dialogue with the PPP after they requested it. He requested it. We produced a document called Constructive Engagement. When the time came to implement it, Barry Jack Deo said Janet Jagan disagreed, and therefore they couldn't implement it. By that time, he had already had all the photographs and establishing he and Corbyn cordial. And then he did what he did. I am guided by history. I'm not going to know Irfan is a puppet and treat him as if he is the person making the decisions. You have to get to the man behind the throne. I don't think we need to worry much about Irfan Ali. Irfan Ali placed himself in a position where he's a pawn in a political game that he himself has no control over.
Quickly, for those who are now joining us on the line, on the phone with us, the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton, is with us. Two final questions, one from me and one from Mr. Caesar. We'll go with Mr. Caesar first. Go ahead, sir. Sorry about that. Yep, go ahead, Wayne.
Yes, so Mr. Norton, I really want to pose this question to you in relation to your visit to the US. I want to ask you, how important is the diaspora, to the party and the building of the party and the funding of the party? And, have you been able to raise, I don't want you to totally disclose, anything, but have you been able to gain any donors on your visit here?
If I've been able to what?
Yeah, that's okay. He's basically asking in terms of how important is the diaspora? In other words, a success story of your visit.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark. You see, first of all, if you treat the diaspora as only raisers of finance, then you'll end up in a problem. For us, it's important. The diaspora has a number of skills that we need and are helping. In fact, in many of our meetings, I've been able to establish relations with people who have undertaken to help by providing their skills. That happened in Jersey, it happened in Maryland. So one of the areas of importance is skill. And I can say to you, a number of people have agreed to work with us. The second matter of importance is really to keep the diaspora abreast so they understand what is happening, and we deal with misconceptions. I believe we've been able to do that not only in terms of the APNU AFC traditional constituency, but we were able to move into the PPP constituency and provide them with information and give them another view from the jaundiced view of the PPP. The diaspora is important because the diaspora has links in Guyana, and the diaspora can help influence people about the reality of Guyana. And in terms of that, I think we have succeeded in getting many of them to understand that they need to engage their family, their friends at home, and be able to give them clear ideas as to the problems of Guyana and the solutions. I was able to discuss with many in the diaspora the APNU vision for Guyana, and I think many people have endorsed that vision. So for me, the visit is successful. The question of raising funds is normal, but it is not the main focus. The main focus is to get over a people-centered development strategy, mobilize the human resource capabilities. When you get government, you will need a lot of the skills that are out here. And so the diaspora is very, very important in many areas. We were also able to be on even though this one wasn't planned, I was invited to a radio station, and we did a program in which we engage people. So I would say clearly the diaspora is important, will always be important, and that there are many areas of interest that are mutual that we will promote.
All right, well said, the opposition leader, Aubrey Compton Norton, responding to that question from Mr. Wayne Caesar. But quickly, the members of the audience don't want to feel left out. Somebody's asking here, what's going on with the voters list? Something that Wayne Caesar has been hammering.
We continue to fight for the voters list. We have been pushing it to the international community. We have a weekly protest, and we keep sensitizing people to it. At some stage, there will be some form of a rally to rally for the voters list. But that campaign for a clean voters list and biometrics, it will continue.
Quickly, one shot before we go. Irfan Ali again with his nonsense, saying that you have to confess for the rigging of elections, when in fact there's no evidence, there's nothing, but more so the evidence pointing in the direction of Irfan Ali and the PPP. What is your take on what he said about rigging of elections?
Like I've said before, the last elections provided a great opportunity to know who rigged and who didn't rig. In that election, both sides agreed to go into the ballot boxes. When we went into the ballot boxes, all the discrepancies that were found were on the side of the PPP and in their strongholds. So if there's anybody who should be apologizing for rigging and trying their best to use the diplomatic influence to get government, it must be the PPP. They are the persons that are responsible for rigging. They are the persons that should be apologizing. I don't see the need to apologize for anything. And in addition, they can apologize now for mismanaging the country, the high levels of corruption in the country, and the high levels of discrimination that they are practicing in the society.
Mr. Norton, we don't want to take up much more of your time, but we are thankful for your few minutes spent with us. Thank you, sir.
Thanks to you and your listening audience.
Thank you. Wayne, what is your take on the response there to Irfan Ali and his nonsense by the leader of the opposition?
Well, listen, Mark, the leader of the opposition, was right on point there with his responses. And, listen, on this visit, he's really been on a roll. He's been on a roll. Everything has been successful. All the meetings have been pretty much successful. He was able to infiltrate, PPPC strongholds and be effective, and that's a good thing because it shows that he's continuing to break those barriers that people, would have think could not have been broken. So this is a very, very good thing, and it's very, very good for the party, Mark. It's not all about finances, to win an election, but it's actually doing the job on the ground. And Mr. Norton is getting the job done. But I wish, a few would have been out there on Tuesday, you know, some of the MPs could have been out there pushing that protest in front of GCOM. We need to see a more robust audience when it comes to those protests.
Thank you. We should have, instead of 5, 6, 7, 8, let's go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over to Don Cush, former magistrate. Are you hearing us now loud and clear, ma'am?
Loud and clear.
Thank you so much. What's happening at GCOM? You have a GCOM chairman that's always voting in favor of the people. You have a voters list that is questionable. You have a protest every Wednesday that got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 persons. What's happening in Guyana there at GCOM?
I think in terms of the protest, I don't think there have been enough PR in terms of that. But with time, protest attracts more and more people. When we started to protest against Nigel Damlal, it was like 4 of us. And then that grew and grew and grew.
Quick question. What sort of PR you need for that protest in front of GCOM? It's been out there.
I'm saying just what you're saying tonight in the program, that is PR. Because a lot of people tune into Mark Benchop and they will hear what you say. And they will be made aware of that and they will turn out.
Well, we've been saying this for 3 years now.
Right, but I'm saying we can't focus all of our protests on GCOM. We have so many things to protest on. If we didn't protest on Damlal, you'd have been still sitting in the National Assembly, still would have been a minister of government. We're trying to protest now in terms of having the chancellor and the chief justice confirmed. There's so many things that are wrong, and we need to try to make right. So some people have to go in some direction, and some have to go in another. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
GCOM is a big fish in a big pond. Damlal is a little.
Yeah.
A little,
but the judiciary is the biggest fish of all.
Talk to us about the judiciary. You were there. You were a magistrate. Talk to us about how much of a mess the judiciary is right now.
Well, after years of promises by Mr. Nandalal and the president himself about the swearing of a Judicial Service Commission, this was finally done. And the Judicial Service Commission is made up of the acting chancellor, Madam Justice Yonit Cummins, PCHOR, acting Chief Justice, Justice Roxanne George, CCH, Senior Counsel, former Chancellor, Justice Carl Singh, OR, former Justice of Appeal, B.S. Roy, and the Chairman of the Public Service Commission, Maurice Gajadar. I think they held their first meeting and they came to a decision that they will advertise vacancies for the judiciary and the magistracy unit. Now that has never been done in Guyana, but it's nothing wrong. It has been done all over the world, particularly in the islands in the Caribbean. That's a norm that they apply for things. But that is not the problem. The problem is the top 2 judicial officers in this country, Mark Benchop, have been acting for 6 years. 6 years they've been acting for. The opposition leader made it clear that he agrees to the confirmation. And Madam Gail Teixeira said, no, that's not how it's done. The president will make his choice and then you have to decide. So these young ladies are acting for 6 years and they have to sit on this commission and they will appoint judges and magistrates who will go on to become confirmed while they remain acting. The age of retirement for the chancellor is 70. So maybe if they continue the games they're playing, the chancellor may be there until she's the age of 72, if she so desires. Because I think it is blatant disrespect to our 2 top judicial officers.
Yeah,
To treat them like that.
You did mention that the Judicial Service Commission is in place, and one of the names you've mentioned is Maurice Gajadar.
Yes, the chairman of the Public Service Commission.
What is your take with members of the Judicial Service Commission not having any legal experience or qualifications? I don't know Maurice Gajadar have any at all.
No, but that has always been the position. The chairman of the Public Service Commission always sits on the Judicial Service Commission. But
why?
all the other persons on it have legal experience. There's only one person who's a non-lawyer.
But he has no legal experience. But then again, it's Guyana. It's Guyana. Wait, do you
It
have
is
any
Guyana. It is Guyana.
Do you have any
It is
questions
Guyana.
for Ms. Kush?
Yes, I do have a question that continues to haunt me. Ms. Kush, I want to ask you a question on Order 60 and how legal that order is. Because I know that legislative power rests in the National Assembly. And Order 60 would have never passed through the National Assembly. So, and this is just my thinking. This is just my opinion, Ms. Kush. All right? If it did not pass through the National Assembly, how could it actually be put into law and sit a government with Order 60? I don't think that that's correct. I don't, I think that this government that is sitting there right now cannot be legal because Order 60 never crossed the National Assembly. It was not voted upon. It was not approved through the correct legal channels.
Sir, for all intents and purposes, we are because it has been accepted by almost everyone. Those who don't accept it don't matter. That's the bluntest way I could put it to you.
Okay.
Right? Life goes on. The president was inaugurated in grand style. And then after that, the big inauguration at the cultural center, persons got COVID, including my subject minister, who I was with when she called and said, I found it the next day, she had COVID, had to be quarantined. This is after the big inauguration. But what I'm saying is the other countries in the world have accepted the results. They've accepted Mr. Irfan Ali as the president of this country, right? And we have diplomatic missions all over. He's accepted at the United Nations. So we have to go on with that. We have to think now ahead to the next general election. How are we going to deal with the issue of dealing with the PPPC in 2025?
All right. So,
Mark,
not because the entire people, but go ahead, Mr. Caesar.
Yeah, I want to respond to that because I don't feel that it's a good posture for our country. I don't feel like if we should be making up laws as we go along here, because then it puts everybody in the conversation. Because if you could just make up a law and it pass just like that and it's what it is, the rest of the world accepts it, then we should start putting out our own laws out there. Because listen, the Guyanese people do not have to sit down and adhere to a government that is not legal, that wasn't constitutionally installed, because this is not constitutionally, this government was not constitutionally put in place because we didn't follow
Mr. Caesar, let me just interject there, right?
Yes,
let me interject there. This was nothing that was forced upon anybody. The then president of Guyana agreed to have these people come in and to come up with a formula and to do all these things. This was agreed to. Not by me, not by you, not by Mark.
All right. So as we look at the time, 42 minutes after 9 o'clock, my quick question here, though, is almost or more than half of the population believe that the elections were rigged by the PPP. The evidence is there to substantiate it. The PPP no longer wants to have the elections petitions be heard. They're always going after it to prevent it. We're no longer hearing anything from about SOPs and so forth and so on. You as a lawyer,
but Mark, do you remember the previous elections and the decision of the now chairman of GCOM, Justice Claudette Singh, in which he said the PPP did not win the election? I can't remember which year it was.
You're talking about
and the election were vitiated. I can't remember what year it was.
You're talking
and
about
do you know what President Barjagio said? He said it's business as usual.
That was the 1997 elections petition, and it was
Correct.
rendered on
Correct.
4+ years
Correct.
after, and we went straight into
Correct.
elections March of 2001.
Correct.
But here's my question to you. As a former magistrate and as a lawyer, do you as a citizen see or accept Irfan Ali as a legitimate president?
You know, I was asked this question about 3 weeks ago. What can I say?
Well, we expect you to be straight up.
No, it's not about being straight up. I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned, you have to have a structure in your country. Guyana, the election was in 2020, we're in 2023. If we did not have a president, where would we be? Do we want to be like Niger? No. As far as I'm concerned, he's the president. As far as I'm concerned, he's the president. I don't use words like install and all of that. Right? If you go to court and that changes, well, fine. But as far as I'm concerned, he's the president of Guyana. And it is what will happen in 2025 that will make the difference. So don't let us look back. Looking back is not going to get us anywhere, Mark. You know that. We have to look forward. We have to look forward.
Looking back will pave the path for a better future and a brighter future for all of us. So there are times that we have to look
Yeah, but I'm saying we all know what would have happened in the past. We all know what would have happened in the past. Right? And as I always say to people,
what do you believe?
I always say
the elections. What do you believe happened in the 2020 elections?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know.
But you just said what happened.
No, listen, please listen to me. My subject minister,
who was
the son-in-law of the president, came out very early and said APNU had lost. Mr. Kemraj, pardon?
A lot of people.
He said that.
The gasket, but
I just tell you things that were said.
Sure.
It was also said that Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan went to his office and told the people that they lost, and he was demitting office. All those things happened. He was demitting office as a minister, right? A lot of things were happening, right? And as I say to people, I live in Guyana. Mark Benchop lives in New York. I don't know where Mrs. lives. Mrs. Cece, where do you live?
No, but what's the relevance of where we live?
No. What's the relevance?
What is
Mark, what? It's a lot of relevance.
Tell us what's the relevance where we live and why we're...
What's the relevance? Because let me be very straight now.
Sure.
I am not going to let anybody play with my freedom. Because if I get locked up tomorrow with some trumped up charge, you know what people are going to say? It's good for you. You go running behind bench up on them.
Oh, let me take a sip.
That is the reality. That is the reality. When I lived out of Guyana, I used to write letters to the newspaper all the time. Right? If I leave Guyana, the same thing will happen again. But people have to understand that there's this little subtle culture of fear.
But I was there for almost 20 years, hitting the streets, being locked up every weekend, every day, every other day. I even appeared in front of you. So I wouldn't buy that.
Exactly. But that's what I'm telling you. I don't want to get no lockup in no jail, in no police station, nothing. No.
Oh, I got you.
Right? I wish. I always look at you, Rickford Burke. I say, see, y'all are in a position to say things that you can say. If you were in Ghana right now, Mark Benchop, you would not be saying these things.
But I've been there and I've said worse than what I'm saying now. I've proven
and you paid the price.
I appeared in front of you as a magistrate when they wanted you to jail me to. Talk a little bit about that. They called you, right?
I didn't jail you. I did not jail you.
But they called you and wanted you
I did not jail you.
They pressured you.
I did not jail you.
No, you didn't.
Whatever may have been suggested, I did not jail you. I placed you on self-bail, if you would recall.
Yep, I recall. You did. And
It was at the President's Providence Magistrates Court.
Yeah, I recall.
Right?
And I'm thankful that you resisted them when they called you and tried to pressure you to have me jailed, but you said no. You sent me home on self-bail. I'm not sure you lasted long after that on the bench.
No, I migrated.
You migrated.
I migrated shortly after that. Yeah, I migrated.
Over to Mr. Caesar, who lives overseas.
You know, Mark, I am so concerned, you know, just hearing the magistrate speak. And for her to be in such a, you know, she's not active now as a magistrate, but hearing from someone who is knowledgeable and would have been in a high office, you know, saying that, you know, she doesn't want to say certain things out of fear, you know, that.
But there's something, but you're not acknowledging the role I would have played in terms of Nigel Damlal. Right? I've spoken on forums on Coffee 250. I've said everything I had to say, but nobody's going to back me up into a wall to say anything.
No. We're not going to do that. But I'm just saying, you know, if you would have these type of concerns, you know, picture the normal man on the ground, how he or she.
But that's exactly my point. Right? Exactly my point. And the man on the ground, as you talking about, is the man who's get locked up. Right? Who I got to run to the police station when Aubrey Norton called me and tell me, Don, please go to the police station. They got a man locked up, right? I representing some fellas who they call terrorists. Terrorists. So in the incident with the Monrepo market.
So Mark,
terrorists.
Here, Mark, freedom of speech comes into question, you know, and listen, I have been saying this all the time. These kind of things cannot be occurring in a country, Mark, and we are sitting here and saying that that country is a democracy. There is no way. Come on. There is no way that Guyana is a democracy, man. We need to listen. These high
I never said Guyana is a democracy. Why is it? I have never said Guyana is not a democracy.
No.
Guyana is no democracy.
Right.
Guyana is no democracy.
Yes, I agree with you. This is in general. We can't have these high-level people coming and talking about democracy. Guyana is not
what high-level people? Mr. Benchop, kindly educate Mr. Caesar that on the 15th of October, right? This same lady sitting in front of you got a letter at work and said I was terminated with immediate effect. Mr. Benchop could tell you that.
Miss Coach, I am not speaking to you. You're taking me the wrong way. I am not speaking to you. I'm talking about high level.
Because now you said people in high offices. So I don't know. I'm not in any high office. I was kicked out. I was kicked out of high office.
1 second, guys.
You're
guys
not active, so I'm not speaking of you. You're not active. You're not active.
You guys are talking over each other. Let's not go that way. Now, the other question to Ms. Kush, what is your take on the high level of discrimination, primarily against persons of African descent, by this corrupt, racist, installed, illegal regime?
Well, I could give you, for starters, personal experiences. I've applied for jobs in this country for which I'm qualified or overqualified. In one instance, I was called for an interview and I attended. And my name was sent forward. I never heard anything else. I later heard that somebody who did not have the experience got the job. Right? Several times I've applied for jobs in my country, but most of them are government agencies or semi-autonomous or autonomous, and I've had no success. So for me, the discrimination is blatant. The perception is I'm a black woman, and that must mean I'm a no difficulty saying that. And I've encountered several people who've had the same experience, who've lost a job and are unable to get another job. Fortunately, I am a lawyer. People always need a lawyer. People always need a lawyer. So I could get an existence and I could survive. If I studied, I don't know, something, I don't know what would have happened to me. But no doors are open for people, but all they're saying, oh, this and one Guyana is for this and one Guyana is for everybody and is inclusive and we'll all benefit from the oil and all that. All this other hogwash. 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 And that's what I'm saying. From my perspective, it has nothing to do with whether the president is in stuff because he's the president. But if he's not acting in the interest of everybody, I have a problem with that. Don't come and tell me that we know one Guyana. One Guyana what? One Guyana means one people. And it's certainly not people looking like me, or you, or Mr. Caesar.
Do you think the opposition is doing enough to confront these corrupt set of vagabonds who have denied you, as you've given us your personal experiences, and thank you so much for that, but thousands of other people this corrupt regime is discriminating against? What's the way forward, and is the opposition doing enough to confront?
Well, I don't know the opposition, but the opposition has put up a poster that was in the newspapers with a number of people who were dismissed by this government, right? Which I thought was an excellent thing. And then Joe Harmon told me something. He says, people came to me and said, why you put my name in there? I don't want my thing in no paper. So I found that strange. So after that, I think they kind of felt a little conscious about how they would move forward in terms of dealing with particular people. Some people took lawsuits, some people did not. Right? I made a decision. I was not going to sue this government because you cannot enforce, you cannot levy against the state. It will be a piece of paper in my hand worth nothing. Right? And I could well see my colleague and they're laughing at me and say, you're not going to get a cent, right? You're not going to get a cent. And that is the problem.
On that poster, which was a grand idea, big poster in big ad, full page ad, it was such a grand idea. I'm sure it was so effective. But anyways,
but listen to me.
Go ahead.
But limited.
We lost her there for a minute.
Wanted for stealing government resources.
Okay.
Could you believe that?
No, we missed you there for a
same
minute.
poster. The same poster.
The same poster. Now, you said that there are a couple of folks who went and said that they didn't want their names to be listed. And
that's correct. That's correct.
You thought that was strange that they don't want their names to be listed. Why they didn't want their names to be listed?
Well, I know one person in particular felt that she had her minister who had dismissed her had promised her some sort of pass work to her on the side. That's one individual I know about. And she felt if that her name was on the poster on her picture, it would upset everything. Unfortunately for her and for the minister is no longer a minister. He's no longer a member of the National Assembly. But he's living in the Chilibar Villas. He has security. And he goes by the name Honorable Nigel Damlal and started a big session on Saturday talk about all the haters. And of course, And then people are calling him minister and minister and minister. So we got some real crazy people here in this country.
You mean
Real crazy.
You mean real crazy people in the installed regime from top to bottom?
Top to bottom, or bottom to top.
Top to bottom. Mr. Caesar, over to you, sir.
You know, Mark, it was concerning to hear Ms. Cush, speak on the fact that she would have applied for jobs across the board. And it's interesting to know that someone that is disqualified.
26 years got post-qualification since I qualified from law school. 26 years at the bar.
Cannot land a job in Guyana. That is concerning.
It is very concerning.
You got a government that would have made as part of their mandate, to make available 50,000 jobs to the people.
But that's what I'm saying. When the president is speaking of one Guyana, he's not referring to me or you or Mr. Benchop. Right? He's not referring to us. We're not one Guyana. We're the other Guyana. They got one Guyana, and then they got the one-sided Guyana, the other Guyana.
So the one Guyana is a one PPPC Guyana. Anyone who does not support the PPPC is something else. And
the other Guyana.
Yes, and you have to be politically aligned in order to land a job in Guyana. It appears this way now. It's either you're going to
it's not appears, that's factual. That is factual. That is factual.
Thank you so much for confirming. That
is factual.
You have to be a part of their structure, Mark, in order to land a job in Ghana. That's interesting, man. I've never seen anything like this.
Mark knows that. Mark and I've discussed that, said it many times. Mark knows that. I think they feel I talk too much. I talk too much. And I will continue to speak. I will continue to speak. Right? And in particular, as I told you, my issue is we cannot have the top 2 judicial officers in this country acting 6 years and not do anything about it. It is so disrespectful to these 2 ladies. It is so disrespectful. Right? And up to now, the president has not come out and say, leader of the opposition, let us discuss this matter. I agree with these 2 people, or as has been circulated recently, maybe I got 2 other people. But that's the problem. Because even if you have 2 other people, the leader of the opposition has to agree. So we can have a stalemate.
Ms. Cush, do you see this installed PPP regime as racist? That includes Air Fernando and Jack Deere. Do you see them as racist?
Of course they're racist. Of course they're racist. They got some window dressing here and there.
Yeah, Mr. Caesar, you were about to say something. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, Mark, I agree with Ms. Cush on what she would have just said. This government is racist in nature. We experience it every day. We see what's happening across the country. We see the unemployment rate. We see the rate of poverty across an oil-producing nation.
What you need to see is the buildings that are going up all over, 4 stories high, all over. Where these people come from, where this money comes from. I don't know which part of the world something like this could happen, and some investigation is not launched into the background of these people. These people are people I've never seen. Nobody's seen them before. Don't know the names, nothing. A lot of them are apparently remigrants, right? Remigrants. So listen to me carefully, remigrants. So they come home and they're given concessions. So they will be here in 2025.
Miss
The
Kush,
nurses, some of the nurses are leaving. It is said we're getting nurses from Bangladesh and India. I am not 100% sure on that. That's what I heard.
Yes, 1,200 of them.
Right.
Yes, that's
So
the word.
work that out, the airfare, the accommodation and all of that. They got to have some benefit for doing that.
so today there's
While the Haitians who members of CARICOM have great difficulty to come to Guyana.
Today there was a memorandum of understanding signed for cooperation of information sharing in combating money laundering and terrorist financing, and this was signed by the acting illegal top cop and the installed Minister of Legal Affairs. What is your take on that memorandum of understanding? Because quickly, the PPP regime will have to go after some of their big financiers, some of those so-called businessmen who are laundering money, who are part of terrorism, and so forth. But what's your take on this MOU?
But we've always had similar laws in effect. A law is as good as its enforcement, right? If you don't enforce it, right, then it's just on the books looking pretty and nothing is done. It requires independent investigators, right? Because it's one of the things I wanted to tell you, Mark, that came out of the chairman of the police, what they call him? The Police Complaints Authority.
Yeah.
Right? He said he received a total of 194 complaints against the ranks of the Guyana police force. And he believes that the hierarchy of the force is covering up wrongdoing of ranks. Right? He went on to say, out of the remaining of the 194 complaints, 36 were rejected and 106 are still pending. Newsroom reported that Justice Ramlal pointed out that despite a few instances where members of the force were charged criminally, they remain on active duty rather than being interdicted in keeping with the force standing orders. So what more you want than that? If the police are supposed to be investigating and the police doing wrong, remaining on the job, where are we? Where are we going? Where are we going? We got to be the laugh of the world.
What is your take on the installed so-called presidents, the presidents, as they say? But you're a lawyer. You may want to address him and appropriately and dress him up nicely and these sort of things. I don't believe in that. He should not be there. He's been charged with 19 fraud charges. His degrees are questionable and so forth and so on. And he behaves like a PIG. But what is your take? And I think I was just about to ask you a question there that I missed it. But let's go straight. Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody in Guyana really believes that the president is the one with the power. Not at all. Not at all. We know who holds the power of this country, and his name is not Ali. His name is not Ali.
The extension of the acting commissioner of police. You're the legal mind here. Your take on
Guyana in the past have extended several police commissioners. Baburam, many of them. Anyway, you got Baron Ragobert, you had Laurie Lewis, Henry Green, whatever. All of them were commissioners of police, not acting commissioners of police. Right? So I don't know how you extend an acting commissioner of police to act as commissioner for the term until he decides whatever. Those were the president's words. He gave no specific time. Mr. Aiken has not been confirmed. He could have confirmed him. I don't know why he didn't do that. He could have confirmed him. Right? And then now you want me to go right back now to the GDF. Right? Where Brigadier Best acted until one day before Colonel Omar Khan was sworn in as brigadier and given the instruments as chief of staff. And he handed over, change of command parade was the next day at Camp Guyana. But the story doesn't end there. Brigadier Best turns 55 in December. So the Guyana Defense Force has to pay 2 chiefs of staff. Two chiefs of staff. One who acted for all the time, and then he says, oh, he never felt like he was acting. Confirmed 1 day before. 1 day before he was confirmed. And the next day, the same day, Omar Khan was promoted from colonel to brigadier and became the chief of staff, and the official handing over was the following day. But Mr. Best, Brigadier Best, is on pre-retirement leave.
Mr. Caesar?
So the Treasury clearly has a lot of money.
That's a good observation, Ms. Kush, that the taxpayers of Guyana are paying for 2 chiefs of staff at this point in time as a result of the corrupt installed PPP.
That's correct.
Mr. Caesar?
That's correct. And acting commissioner of police is the commissioner of police until such time as the president sees fit.
Until such time as the dictator, the mini dictator, puppet dictator.
I don't know if he's a... Pardon?
Why not? He's a dictator.
He's a dictator?
Yes.
I thought you meant Mr. Jagio.
Both of them.
Both of them can be. How both of them gonna be dictators? One got to be the bad man. One got to be the bad man, and the other one got to be the good boy. So when I tell you lie down, you lie down.
But none of them is a good boy. None of them. Is Irfan a good boy to you?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying one is the big bad boy. Right?
Yeah, bad woman.
The other one is the one who, when the big bad boy say, go to sleep, lie down, don't say anything. Right? He obeys and goes and he stays in his corner until he's called again.
Lie down.
He knows his place. He knows his place.
Mr. Caesar.
You know, Mark, it's interesting how this government sees things from a convenient perspective.
All the time.
You don't hear this government, this installed government, ever speak of our constitution these days. But let them find themselves on the back foot and the opposition is in a position of power. You're going to see how quick they're going to revert back to that constitution. And, you know, go ahead, Ms. Kush. Go ahead.
No, we saw that when Mr. Jagan came to office. The PPP had constantly criticized the power of the president of Guyana under the Constitution, and had vowed if they came into office, they would change a particular section which gave the president unlimited power. When Mr. Jagan came into power in 1992, which for a lot of people is the year Guyana began. Guyana didn't start before 1992. We started first Guyana we ever know is in 1992. And Mr. Jagan is reportedly said, I'm not changing it. It has to do with the man who wears the hat. And that section remained. That section remained. The same section they were making all the noise about, it remained.
Ms. Kush,
same thing with the oil contract.
I got a quick question for you. regarding the DPP and her sweeping powers and some of the judgment calls that she would have made. And I want to make a swift comparison between how she ruled with the Nigel Darmla situation as opposed to the David Patterson situation. And I want you to give me your take on that.
No, well, I always tell people, the DPP, as far as I'm concerned, sways with the wind. The DPP withdrew cases against, first she charged Jennifer Westford, Ifranali, Anil Nandalal, Ashni Singh, Winston Brassington, right? Nothing happened in those cases. The PPP came into power and a whole set of people were charged, right? Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. Winston Jordan's case, in which myself and Royce Ford appeared, is the only matter that has been dismissed. But nothing is happening in the other matters, and nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen.
That's interesting.
Right? I mean, it is what it is. We have to wait and see. I don't know if anything will change overnight. I hardly think so. But in terms of the David Patterson case, that is clearly an abuse of power. Clearly. I have never known of anybody in Guyana with that same offense. Even when they would have had the Sexual Offensive Act, would have been charged with that. The offense for that is indecent assault. Indecent exposure, sorry. That is the offense for which he should be charged. Indecent exposure.
Thank you for the clarity there. Thank you very much.
What are some of the expectations you have for the incoming U.S. ambassador to Guyana?
I didn't get you, Mark.
What expectations you have, or what are some of the things you expect from the new incoming or the incoming ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Guyana? Sorry.
All we have to do is hope and hope and hope that the person would be independent, understand Guyana and the politics in Guyana, which is quite unlike most places. Don't get involved in being close to politicians. Keep your safe distance, like how the British High Commission usually tends to stay back, right? And just focus on the job you're here to do. Provide support when required, from which the country would benefit as a whole, right? We don't want, like when Mr. Jagdio was bringing Mr. Kerrick to serve as a security advisor, and then next thing you hear Mr. Kerrick going to jail in the States. No. So if you're going to help us in terms of fighting crime, you have to bring in some proper experts. Because we really need a lot of help in terms of fighting crime. The police are really, really letting us down in terms of their efficiency and their competence, and in some cases, their integrity. And they have no shame. They charge people go to court month after month, year after year, year after year. Then the magistrate get vexed and dismiss the case. And the latest thing, almost everybody except Mr. Damlal, most people spend 72 hours in detention. Most people. That's like a norm now. And then you're charged and you go to court. I have a client who is charged. He's charged. And he spent 72 hours in custody. And he is charged because they want to put pressure on Rickford Burke.
Ms. Kush, I want to ask your thoughts on elections on petition and why they are not heard expeditiously. It's been a part of the history where these petitions take a very long time to be heard. And, you know, I think it can really cause a country because you can have a government that would
Of
not have.
course, our government for 5 years and then get it, then get the election. The PP has an election petition, I believe, from 2015. I don't think there's ever been a ruling on that one. But I take your point. But I'm saying it is up to the lawyers, right, who have to make the necessary calls and the necessary appeals to have these matters expedited. An election petition is a special kind of matter. It affects everything. It affects how many seats you have, if you're going to lose seats, if you're going to gain seats, whatever.
The PPP doesn't believe in elections petition. They don't like it. We saw what happened in the 1997 elections petition. It took almost 4.5 years before it was concluded. And like you said earlier, the judge in that case was Justice Claudette Singh, who ruled against the PPP. The elections vitiated.
That's correct.
Fresh elections called in March of 2001. Then there was another elections petition in 2006 when Sam Hines stole a seat. The PPP stole a seat from Region 10, and Sam Hines squatted in that seat for 5 years. The elections petition never heard. And then in 2011, they attempted to rob the elections again. But Donald Ramatara ended up with a one-seat minority. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Minority. It was a minority government at that point in time.
And then you can't forget when an order was attempted to be served when President Janet Jagan was about to be sworn in, and she threw it over her shoulder.
Yeah,
threw it over her shoulder.
Yeah, and she did that in
Janet
the presence
Jagan
of the Chancellor of the Judiciary. Then was Justice Cecil Kennard, and also the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, Do Not Sing.
No. Do Not Sing. Do Not Sing was the one who said, "Well done."
Yeah, and well, the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission then, I believe it was who was it? Was it Do Not Sing?
Yeah, Do Not Sing was the chairman of Elections Commission.
Good, and he later became the Attorney General of Guyana under the very PPP.
That's correct. That's correct.
Lots of nonsense. That is why, Ms. Kush, people got to be brave, whether they're inside Guyana or whether they're outside Guyana. We can't look and say Mark Defarge because Mark can talk. If Mark was probably...
Well, Mark, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I know you are. I know you are.
You know how much people you can't get to talk to? They don't want to talk to you.
This is true. We see Wayne Caesar is fine.
But I know if anything happened to me, I gonna contact you.
And that is what we're here for. This is a relay like. You guys should not be on the ground and be afraid to speak out at all. Because if I was on the ground...
I speak out. Yeah. I speak out all the time. But I don't have to say the president is installed or he's not installed. He's the president.
No, you're entitled to your opinion, of course.
Right, I'm saying I'm not going to get into that. But the things that are being done now are certainly not fair. They're very divisive, right? The lines are straight, right? Everybody knows their place, right? You only need to go to places like Giftland on a Sunday afternoon, and you see all the big vehicles there, and the families, the shopping, and the big trolleys and all of that. And then you go to the market and you see, on a Sunday, you see the black people struggling, right? With the cost of living to buy a few items. The contrasts are terrible. Maybe I should do a little pictorial contrast with the houses and what they're buying, what people eating, how much people earning, right? I mean, we have people in Guyana earning less than $100,000, and you go on Marketplace on Facebook, and almost every place is $1,500 US, $5,000 US, $3,500 US dollars, as if everybody here is working for ExxonMobil. Who paying those rents? And these places remain on marketplace for months and months and months without anybody renting it. Because the average person can't afford to rent it. And the person from ExxonMobil looks at the place and feels the place is not up to their standards.
Well,
So
in
the
general,
disparity is getting wider and wider and wider.
well,
Whether we
in
could ever
general,
bring it back?
in general, when you look at property as a whole across Guyana, you can see that people are being priced out, you know, of being able to purchase property in their own country. That is sad. They're already suffering as far as getting lands allocated to them, and the rents are just now. They're gonna have their own little supermarkets that they go to before they can go to the big ones. They're just for those. So it's interesting, to watch this dynamic and watch our countries that was won by our ancestors, and just out of economic growth in the country. It's interesting, very
But
interesting.
don't forget the president made a terrible mistake when he said we all came and we all suffered the same experiences. A most absurd statement.
That's absolutely not the case, because the Indians would have landed in an emancipated Guyana, thanks to our
Not only that,
ancestors
when they
who were
came,
being
they came here with their culture, their traditions, their names, their records.
Mhm.
Those people could tell you what if their ancestors came on the Whitby or the whatever the other boats were. They could tell you that, right? Your name is Mark. Your name is Wayne. My name is Dawn, right? You have Ifran Ali and Bharat Jagdeo and Anil Nandalal because they've retained their names. Most of us grew up in churches. That's what we know. They practice their own religions that they brought with them from India.
In the event that we have,
We didn't come on any proper ships.
in the event that
That
we
is something
haven't
that
had,
really upsets me.
in the event that we haven't asked any question concerning an important topic that you wish to discuss, can you speak on that now on your closing remarks, please, Ms. Cush?
Well, all I would say is I am looking forward to a change where all Guyanese can feel as though they are part of Guyana and they are entitled to the same thing as everyone else. Everybody should be able to get a job which they can maintain a family. They should be able to own a home to have their family living. They must be able to afford transportation, a car, whatever it is, so that they could transport their family. They must be able to have money that they could take on vacation so they could see what other countries look like. They mustn't have to be hustling and doing 2 jobs and 3 jobs. And of course, when you don't have money in the family, it's constant problems between the husband and the wife. Right? I'm looking forward to a Guyana where the government of the day is interested in all Guyanese and not focused on the oil and the gas and what some of them can get from that, and to hell with the others. That is my hope. That is my hope, Mark.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cush. We appreciate your time this evening. But before we go, Mr. Caesar, your closing remarks, please, sir.
Yeah, Mark, I felt like, tonight we had a pretty good discourse. I hope it was edifying to the people. Miss Kush, it was a pleasure sharing the platform with you. Very fiery discussion tonight. Listen, listen, a lot was exposed tonight, Mark, and there's a lot to be done in our country. Our constitution needs to be respected. It is not being respected. Now, what is a country? What is a quote unquote sovereign nation without a constitution, without its constitution being respected. And listen, this government is lawless. The display is extremely lawless. It is disrespectful. You know, we don't see equitable distribution of wealth across the country. As Ms. Kush would have said, you see these big tall buildings going up, Mark, and they're not owned by Afro-Guyanese, right? So we are seeing where this is going, you know, and something needs to be done, because in a sovereign nation that has a constitution, you cannot have outside influences, foreign financiers determining who the government of the day is going to be. That belongs to the people. When the people come out and they express their democratic right by voting, it should be respected. And whomever they would have voted for should be placed there, and not by an order. They should be placed there constitutionally. So I look forward to some major reform, and I look forward to the same things that Ms. Kush is looking forward to. A Guyana that is good, a Guyana that gives its people disposable income that they can go on a vacation. There are many Guyanese who have not went to a vacation, not even to one of those little resorts out in Bartik or anywhere, you know, and this is sad, because listen, it's out there that Guyanese are some of the richest per capita in the world. Why are our people living without having any disposable income? Some people can't even send their kids to school. And Mark, you send the kids to school and they do their C6 and they're successful. You can't afford university. Because why? The government is trampling on our constitution that says university should be free and education should be free from nursery right through university. So how can we educate our people and bring our people up to standards? Listen, Guyanese people, history of Guyanese people has shown them to be very, very educated people if given the resources to be successful. That's my closing remark. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you, 10:30. I just want to thank our guests again. Thank you, Mr. Caesar, as well, Ms. Kush, and to all of our listeners. I have no closing remarks this evening, absolutely none. Everybody spoke on my behalf. I just want to thank Ms. Kush for the time when I appeared in front of you and those who were in power then in the PPP and hierarchy of the police force wanted you to jail me. You stood strong, and instead you defied them. Instead of jailing me or putting me on some sort of lump sum bail, you sent me home on my own recognizance. And I walked out of the Providence Magistrates Court a free man as a result of your bravery. I wish that we can see more of that. I know you're out there protesting as well. We want to see more brave people like yourself there, people who are not afraid for a little couple hours lockup or 2 days and 3 days and so forth. Sacrifices have to be made. And I know you have it in you to make those sacrifices. You came from good genes. Terence Holder, the late, would be proud of you. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Caesar.
you. And please give my love to Emma.
Thank you. Will do.
Good night, Mark.
Again.
Okay.
See you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, we will have Mr. Roysdale Ford with us right here on 107.1 FM. And for now, my name is Mark Benchop. Until tomorrow night, God bless you all. Have a great rest of the evening. And keep in mind that when the PPP were in the opposition, this is how they were fighting to remove the then GCOM chairman, Steve Surge Bally. They protested and protested and protested in their numbers in every region. They protested again, repeat. They protested and protested and protested in every region. Every day. Every day. They weren't afraid of being locked up. They weren't afraid at all. And there was no issue with who lives overseas and who live in Guyana and you not in Guyana, so that's why you can talk. Good. That 1 minute of silence actually is my closing remarks. Talk to you guys later. We've got to do better, Guyanese. We've got to do better.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.